you so much. It's not the right time. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
You know, that night, I meant what I said.
Something feels off about my life with the Walter Boys Season 3, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The trailer gives us emotional moments, shocking confrontations, and even hints at new relationships, but hidden between all of that are details that completely change how we understand what's coming next. From Jackie's behavior to Cole's dangerous choices and Alex's growing anger, everything is building towards something much bigger than just a love triangle. And if the leaked scenes are even partially true, Season 3 might end up being the most intense and emotional chapter we've seen so far. Let's start with what the trailer quietly reveals about Jackie, because this season, she feels different. Not just confused, but conflicted in a deeper way. In multiple moments, we see her pulling away emotionally, even when she's physically present with the Walter family. And I don't think this is just about the pressure of choosing between Cole and Alex anymore. It feels like Jackie is slowly realizing that no matter what choice she makes, someone will get hurt, including herself. That's why when Elliot enters the picture, everything shifts. He doesn't just bring back memories, he brings back a version of Jackie that existed before all this chaos. A version of her that wasn't constantly caught in emotional crossfire. But here's where things get interesting. The leaked scenes suggest that Jackie isn't just reconnecting with Elliot out of nostalgia. There are small hints that she feels safe around him in a way she never truly felt with Cole or Alex. And that's a big deal. Because for 2 seasons, her connection with Cole has been intense, unpredictable, and emotional, while her relationship with Alex was more stable but lacked that deeper spark. Elliot, on the other hand, might be the balance between those two extremes. And that could completely change the direction of the story. At the same time, we can't ignore what's happening with Cole. The trailer shows him diving deeper into risky behavior, especially with racing. And this doesn't feel like excitement, it feels like an escape. Almost like he's trying to outrun everything he's feeling. The distance between him and Alex, the tension with Jackie, and the pressure from everything happening in the family, it's all building up. And when a character like Cole starts making reckless decisions, it usually leads to consequences. Big ones. What makes this even more intense is how disconnected the brothers have become. There's a clear emotional wall between Alex and Cole now, and Jackie is right at the center of it. But instead of trying to fix things, she seems more lost than ever. And that's exactly why this season feels different. It's not just about who she chooses, it's about whether she can even make the right choice anymore. And if you pay close attention to the trailer, there's one detail that stands out the most. Every character seems to be moving in a different direction. Jackie is looking back at her past, Cole is spiraling into risky decisions, and Alex is becoming more aggressive and unpredictable. Instead of their stories coming together, they're slowly drifting apart. And that could mean Season 3 isn't about resolution, it's about breaking everything apart before rebuilding it again. Because sometimes, the biggest twists don't come from what we see, but from what the show is quietly setting up behind the scenes. Now let's talk about Cole, because if there's one character whose storyline feels the most dangerous this season, it's definitely him. In the trailer, every scene involving Cole carries this heavy tension, like something bad is just waiting to happen. And the biggest clue is his growing obsession with racing. At first, it might look like he's just trying to distract himself, but when you really pay attention, it feels more like he's running away from everything he can't control. The situation with Jackie, the broken relationship with Alex, and the pressure inside the family after George's condition, all of it is pushing him toward reckless decisions. What makes this even more concerning is the way Cole reacts to Elliot. You can clearly sense that Elliot's presence bothers him, but instead of confronting it directly, Cole seems to bury those emotions and channel them into something else. And that something else is where things start to get risky. The leaked scenes hint that Cole begins taking bigger and more dangerous risks during races, almost like he's trying to prove something, not just to others, but to himself. And when a character reaches that point, it usually means they're about to lose control. There's also a subtle but important shift in how people around Cole treat him. In previous seasons, he was often the one guiding others, especially Dylan. But this time, it looks like the roles might be reversed. We see moments where Dylan seems more aware of the consequences than Cole, almost like he's trying to pull him back before it's too late. And that tells us just how far Cole might be going this season. When the person who once needed saving starts trying to save you, you know something has changed. But the real turning point could come from an accident. The trailer doesn't show it directly, but the tension, the pacing, and the way these scenes are edited all point towards something going wrong. And if that happens, it won't just affect Cole, it will impact everyone around him, especially Jackie. Because deep down, no matter how complicated things get, there's still a strong emotional connection between them. And sometimes, it takes a moment of real danger for those feelings to come back to the surface. At the same time, this could also be the moment where Cole is forced to face the consequences of his actions. For so long, he's been acting on impulse, letting his emotions guide him without thinking about the bigger picture. But this season feels like it's pushing him toward a breaking point where he can't do that anymore. He'll have to decide whether he wants to keep running from his problems or finally face them. And here's the interesting part, if Cole does hit that breaking point, it could completely change his relationship with Jackie. Not in the way we expect, but in a way that forces both of them to grow. Because right now, their connection is built on intense emotions and unfinished feelings. But after everything that's coming, that might not be enough anymore. So while everyone is focused on the love triangle, Cole's storyline might actually be the one that changes everything. Because if he falls too far, the entire balance of the story could collapse with him. Now shifting the focus to Alex, because his storyline this season might be the most unpredictable out of all. In the trailer, there's a clear change in his energy. He's no longer the calm, understanding version of himself that we saw before. Instead, there's frustration, anger, and even a sense of isolation building around him. And when you think about everything that's happened, it actually makes sense. He lost Jackie, his relationship with Cole is completely broken, and now he's trying to find something to hold on to. That something seems to be the rodeo. But just like Cole with racing, Alex's involvement in the rodeo doesn't feel entirely healthy. It looks more like he's trying to prove himself, almost like he's trying to regain control over his life. And that's where things start to get intense. Because when someone is driven by emotion rather than clarity, they tend to make decisions that pull them deeper into trouble. The trailer even shows him clashing with a new character, Wilder, and this isn't just a simple rivalry. It quickly escalates into something serious enough to involve the police. That alone tells us Alex is stepping into a much darker path this season. At the same time, there's another layer to his story that makes things even more complicated, his connection with Kylie. Now this is where things could go in a very unexpected direction. We already know there have been hints about Alex and Kylie potentially getting closer, but when you really look at it, it doesn't feel right. Not because they don't have chemistry, but because of what it means for everyone else. Kylie and Dylan have already built something meaningful, especially after everything Dylan went through to change himself. So if Alex ends up getting involved there, it could create another emotional conflict that no one is ready for. And that's exactly what makes Alex's storyline so important. He's not just dealing with his own struggles, his actions could start affecting everyone around him in ways we don't expect. The more he tries to move on from Jackie, the more it feels like he's making choices that are driven by pain rather than growth. And that's a dangerous place to be. There's also the emotional distance between him and Cole, which might be one of the biggest unresolved tensions in the entire story. These two brothers used to have a strong connection, but now there's silence, resentment, and unspoken feelings between them. And what makes it worse is that neither of them seems ready to fix it. Instead, they're both heading down their own paths, making their own mistakes, and drifting further apart. But eventually, something has to bring them back together. Whether it's a major event, a crisis, or a realization that they've both gone too far, this tension can't stay unresolved forever. And when that moment finally comes, it could be one of the most powerful scenes of the season. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about love triangles or rivalries, it's about family, choices, and the consequences that come with them. And right now, Alex is standing at a point where one wrong decision could change everything. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because Season 3 isn't just building tension between characters, it's slowly reshaping the entire world around them. And a big part of that comes from what's happening inside the Walter family itself. George's condition isn't just a temporary problem. It feels like something that's going to affect every single character moving forward. You can already see the emotional weight it's putting on Catherine, and the way she's struggling to hold everything together says a lot about how fragile things have become. What makes this even more intense is how everyone is reacting differently to the same situation. Some are trying to stay strong, some are avoiding the reality, and others are letting it change them completely. Jackie, for example, is carrying a lot of guilt, not just because of what's happening to George, but because she feels like she's part of the reason the family is falling apart. And even if that's not entirely true, that feeling alone is enough to influence her decisions in a big way. At the same time, we also have to talk about the smaller storylines that could quietly become major turning points. One of them is Skylar and Nathan. Now, after everything that happened before, it didn't seem like there was any chance for them to reconnect. But the trailer hints at something changing between them. Whether it's forgiveness, growth, or simply time healing old wounds, there's clearly a shift happening. And sometimes, these quieter relationships end up having the biggest emotional impact because they show a different side of the story, one that's not driven by chaos, but by understanding. But even within these calmer moments, there's still tension underneath. Because every relationship in this season feels like it's being tested in some way. Trust, loyalty, and emotional strength are all being pushed to their limits. And what's interesting is that not all of these relationships will survive that pressure. Some might grow stronger, but others could break completely. There's also this feeling throughout the trailer that things are moving faster than before. The emotions are heavier, the conflicts are sharper, and the consequences seem more immediate. It's like the story is no longer holding back. Instead of slowly building up, it's diving straight into the most intense parts of each character's journey. And that shift in pacing could mean we're heading toward a season filled with major turning points rather than small developments. And when you connect all of this together, the family pressure, the emotional guilt, the changing relationships, it starts to feel like everything is leading toward one central moment. A moment where all these storylines collide. Because right now, every character is dealing with their own struggles separately. But sooner or later, those struggles are going to intersect. And when they do, the outcome won't just affect one person or one relationship, it could change everything we thought we knew about this story. And now let's talk about what all of this is really building toward, because Season 3 doesn't just feel like another chapter, it feels like a turning point for the entire story. Every storyline we've talked about, from Jackie's emotional conflict to Cole's reckless behavior and Alex's growing anger, is slowly moving toward one moment where everything could change at once. And the biggest question is, who will be left standing when that moment finally arrives? If you look closely, there's a pattern forming. Jackie is being pulled in multiple directions, not just by people, but by different versions of herself. Cole is losing control while trying to hold on to what matters to him. And Alex is stepping into a version of himself that feels completely different from who he used to be. None of them are stable, and that's exactly why the ending of this season could be so unpredictable. Because when characters are this emotionally unstable, their decisions don't follow logic, they follow feeling. And that's where the real chaos begins. One of the strongest possibilities is that we won't get a clean resolution to the love triangle at all. Instead, the show might break it completely before rebuilding it in a new way. Jackie might realize that choosing between Cole and Alex isn't the real solution to her problems. Cole might be forced to step back after facing the consequences of his actions. And Alex might finally understand that moving on doesn't mean replacing what he lost. If all of that happens, then Season 3 could end not with answers, but with a reset, one that changes the direction of the story moving forward. At the same time, we can't ignore the emotional core of the show, which is the Walter family itself. George's condition, Catherine's struggles, and the growing distance between the brothers are all pieces of a much bigger picture. And if there's one thing this season seems to be setting up, it's the idea that family will either bring them back together, or break them apart completely. There's no middle ground anymore. And this is where the leaked details start to feel even more important. Because they don't just hint at drama, they hint at consequences. Real ones. The kind that change relationships permanently. The kind that force characters to grow, whether they're ready or not. And if even half of those leaks turn out to be true, then we're not just looking at an emotional season, we're looking at one that could redefine every character we've been following. So when season 3 finally drops, don't just watch it for the romance or the drama. Pay attention to the small details, the quiet moments, and the decisions that seem minor at first. Because in a story like this, those are the moments that end up meaning the most. And something tells me, by the time this season ends, nothing will ever be the same again. For more videos like this, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks.